I'd like to welcome you to the meeting of the Buchanan Community Schools Board of Education. All of our meetings have been posted district-wide in all of our buildings, on our websites, in our central office, and so on. And the agenda has also been posted as well. As there is an agenda also in the back if you'd like to pick it up and follow along with our meeting. And you can also subscribe to get this information as well. Of course, our board members do receive the agenda ahead of time. And the other supporting documents and artifacts in order to be prepared for the meetings, in order to ask questions, make comments, and basically fully prepare and discuss and participate as a encompassment of their duties of their office. Of course, this is the meeting of the Board of Education for the purpose of conducting the school district's business, and is not considered a public community meeting. We do have the public comment section, which we value and recognize that portion of our agenda. And of course, as we do that, we request that if you're interested in speaking to the board, that a board participation public comment card is completed and information filled out so that we can return that card to you and answer any questions. With that said, let us stand and do our pledge of allegiance. And with that said, roll call.
Mr. Carlson is out absent. Miss Berry?
Here.
Miss Brackett is off due to a work commitment. Miss Lesh here. Dr. Carlin?
Here.
Miss Ryder?
Here.
And Dr. Burnett?
Here. Moving on to item D, adoption of the agenda. May we have a motion?
I make a motion the agenda for the board meeting of May 15th, 2023 be adopted as written.
Support.
And no amendments, so roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item E, recognition of visitors. And Mrs. Robinson.
Yes, I'd like to thank all of you for being here tonight, and those of you who are presenting, thank you for answering the call and being ready to present tonight during this board meeting.
All right. Very good. Welcome. And moving on to points of pride.
All right. Every month we do the staff appreciation and we do the recognitions first. So Ann Keaton, bus driver, Deanna Karpinski, bus driver, Donna Trigg, moccasin interventionist, Jennifer Schmitz-Kuntz, bus driver, Karen McGwirt, moccasin interventionist, Christine Reddig, third grade teacher, Lisa Gregory, second grade teacher, Stacy Lee, Buchanan Middle School special education teacher, Tammy Herman, Buchanan Middle School paraprofessional. Those were all that were nominated, and the winner this month was Michael O'Shea, who's a bus driver. Michael is the most reliable employee that one can have. He does not miss a day and lives by the old saying, to be early is to be on time is to be late. Michael's route is done at 2 p.m. This allows him to help out with dropping trips off, covering routes, and the occasional coverage of dispatch. Michael is truly the best team player, and I cannot thank him enough. On behalf of the Board of Education and administration of Buchanan Community Schools, we thank you for your service and encourage you to keep up the great level of achievement and service to our district. Congratulations, Michael. Oh, okay. And he's not here.
All right. And the next S Sports Champs.
Yes, so we have several great things that, tonight, that our students are part of. So one of those is our esports team. They were named champs, so they went out and competed, and they are here tonight. I'd like to invite Mr. Pearson and his group up to the podium. If you'd like to please come down and just share some of your highlights of your esports competition, and also share that big belt that you guys won, if you can. And it was also good to see that we had esports representative, one of them, a senior, on the parade, or last week at the assembly for the all schools. Yep, so it was pretty good.
So esports, this is our 4th year running esports. This is previously we had 4 championships with the Rocket League team, but this is our first championship with the Valorant team. And we had a perfect 6-0 regular season with a lot of, they're called aces, where you take out the entire side with one person. We got a couple, Mr. Caleb Lingle here, and then Mr. Kyler Withers are our aces that do a lot of that. And with that, they were able to do great in playoffs and win the championship here, where we won this cool belt.
Nice.
Guys, anybody want to say something? But yeah, the boys worked hard. They always do. This is our 5th trophy, so I mean, they put the hard work in it. They deserve recognition. So, good job, boys.
Good job.
Thank you.
Great job.
What was the other game? What was the other game besides racquetball, did you say?
What's that?
What was the other game besides racquetball? did you say?
It's Valorant.
Valorant. Okay, all right.
Yeah, explain Valorant.
So
Explain it.
it's like it's a 5v5. It is kind of a shooter, but it's it's like cartoon shoot, so it's not like bloody like Call of Duty or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it's mostly about the cool flashy abilities, not really. There's some shooting plays, but it's a lot of mental focus. The team's working together, making sure they know, they have this character. How do I deal with that?
Yeah.
And working as a team. So that's what's important.
Cool.
Good.
Cool. Yeah.
Awesome.
Your equipment, is it special equipment? What do you?
Well, when we first started, it was just a computer lab. But then a couple years ago, when we ran that esports camp, we used some of that ESSER money to get 12 pretty good computers. So
Nice.
we need little upgrades, but we're trying to do some fundraising to help with that. So
Cool.
Good job. All right.
All right, we'd like to take a picture with you and your team if
Okay.
you want to stand in front and board.
That's a board.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, never mind. Up and down.
Ready? All right, 1, 2, 3. Got it. Perfect.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I learned something new
And then
today.
also on here, Isabel Bryans, is she here tonight? We'd just like to just say her name for receiving the Good Citizen Award. I believe that's with the Daughters of American Revolution. Connected with that, she was in the paper. So congratulations to Isabel Bryans.
All right, congratulations. Let's give her a round of
Yep.
applause. All right, moving on to item G, public hearing for sex education.
Yep. So Mark Curlin headed this committee up, and in that he does have some information that he'd like to share with us during this time. And I believe also some of the parents who were on that committee are here, at least one.
Good evening. The Buchanan Schools, Community Schools, public hearing on sex education. I just want to kind of, if you have some interest in asking questions at the end, there's some cards in the back that you're actually supposed to fill out, and then there's a 3-minute time limit, so there's some time for you to rush back there and get a card if you'd like to. But I'm just going to go through and present real quick. So the purpose of the public hearing and legal authority of the meeting. Purpose of the meeting is to report to the public the progress of the school district sex education advisory board and obtain input from the public regarding the proposal or revisions to such as education curriculum and instruction for the district. Legal authority is the district will hold 2 public hearings, tonight being one of them, the second one being on June 5th. The process for conducting the meeting is I will introduce the members of the committee or the board that are on the committee, then introduce any visitors, and we'll have a quick formal presentation, then we'll give you a chance to ask some questions at the end. And again, if for some reason I can't answer them right now tonight, we'll get you an answer by the next meeting. So the advisory board met virtually. Teachers discussed their curriculum and materials being used at each level. All members were allowed to give input and ask questions. Suggestions were discussed, and then they're being brought forward tonight and then on June 5th. I'd like to take a moment to introduce the board members. If you happen to be here, you can please rise. Elizabeth McGinnis, a parent. Cindy Phillips, a parent and co-chair. Thank you. Britton Phillips, student. Nathan Babcock, clergyman. Ruth Weider, board member. Charles Patterson, community health representative. Brenda Hempel, teacher, 4th grade at Moccasin. Derek Teff, teacher at Buchanan Middle School. Jamie Warmbine, teacher at Buchanan High School. Trish Robertson, superintendent. And then myself, Mark Curlin, assistant superintendent and co-chair. Again, if there's any visitors, we ask that you fill out the card in the back if you'd like to if you'd like to speak after the presentation. So the philosophy and goals for the program. Buchanan offers a comprehensive sex education, HIV, STI prevention curriculum that is medically accurate and aged appropriately for all students beginning in 4th grade, including students with special needs. The curriculum is designed to recognize and represent the diversity of our students and community and tries to be inclusive of everyone regardless of their race, class, ability, family structure, religion, sex, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, and gender expression. And I think you'll see that when you see some of the comments and things that came up from the community members when we met. Instruction will be implemented from a trauma-informed lens and avoid strategies that invoke fear or shame or further traumatize the learner. The goal is to equip students with the knowledge and skills to develop healthy relationships and to avoid sexual behaviors that put them at risk of HIV, other STIs, and unintended pregnancies. So the curriculum that's being used, first of all, just to let you know that whether it's elementary, middle school, or high school, it's definitely the popular ones that are out there. Puberty, the Wonder Years, and then the Michigan Model for Health are the ones that are out there being used at different various levels. The curriculum for 4th grade is Puberty, the Wonder Years. It's a hard copy. We have 5 lessons and 2 videos. And the things that you see highlighted up there are links that you can get to afterwards if you'd like to. The curriculum for 5th grade is also Puberty, the Wonder Years. Has 8 lessons, including an HIV lesson and 3 videos. The curriculum for 6th grade is really an HIV video that's pretty new. It was edited by the 6th grade teacher from YouTube. Grade 7 is where we move into the Michigan model that Mr. Teff teaches in the science classes, and that is 5 lessons and 4 videos. And then at the high school level right now, we're teaching it in 8th grade using some of the things from the 9th through 12 Michigan model, and that's also where some of our discussions weighed heavily on where we want to move in the future. Suggestions and points of emphasis. Right now, the 4th through 6th grade staff is currently all set as the curriculum being used. They may want to look at a new versions of Wonders as we move forward. 7th through 12, staff is beginning to look at a newer version of the Michigan model, which we got free access to. I think one teacher had it already, but the other two got it because of some work with the Van Buren County ISD. All levels incorporate section and weight. One of the things we want to make sure that people are aware of, and it's been in the district and in the classrooms for as long as I can remember, as long as I've been, parents have the right to opt out and may look at all materials ahead of time. So there's always a letter that goes out before the teaching of the lessons. And so I know as a middle school principal, maybe once or twice, a few parents came and looked at the material, but there's always a chance for a parent to opt their child out with no consequence. They just get a different assignment in the library, media center, whatever, but that's one thing that's always been popular. One of the things that the committee did suggest as a change this year is to make sure that it was brought out in the letters in 4th through 7th grade that some of the lessons are co-ed, meaning girls and boys or males and females are in the same class, and that was tweaked in the letters moving forward for this year. That was something that was brought up by one of the parents. So, teachers. Teachers offer the opportunity to ask questions via paper in front of the students. So one of the things that I wanted to make a point is that one of the goals or one of the philosophies is making sure that kids don't feel uncomfortable when they're asking questions and things like that. And so teachers have always given the kids the opportunity to write down their question on paper and turn it in at a different time so they can be read and then answers brought back. One of the suggestions that was brought forward by the committee and will be put into place was that everyone will be given a piece of paper and then they'll be asked to write something on it, whether it's a smiley face, but if they want to ask their question, then there's the opportunity for everyone to be writing something down, so not everyone's anonymous. And I just think that kind of brings that point out to the kids that it's okay to ask a question. We want you to ask questions. We don't want you to feel guilty or feel embarrassed to ask your question. So. The 8th grade lessons incorporate HIV and AIDS, and most of that is taught in the 8th grade health class. That's been ongoing for years. I'm being told like 8 years back. We wanted to, in our discussions, we looked at talking about moving forward next year, if not at the end of this year, for sure next year, of trying to incorporate some more things in the maybe 11th grade social studies or science classes. Some thoughts that came up is maybe actually having the health teacher, one of the health teachers or both, go into the social studies and science classes with a couple lessons that are more age appropriate for 11th graders. Also looking at maybe having our student resource officer come in and speak to students about the legal age and how many issues may arise if we're not being appropriate. And then the last suggestion that was brought up was possibly having the sheriff's department come in and talking about 4th degree sexual assault so that students are more aware. Just kind of making them more aware as they get older of what's going on in the world and so on. One of the things that was brought to us or brought forward to me as we kind of began this process was in talking with the consultant from Van Buren County was that we need to look a little bit more at our pre and post test data. And so we're looking at collecting data on this school year towards the end of the school year and then talking with the teachers and bringing forward some changes to possibly to what we're doing next year and bring it before the board and before the staff. So at this time, I'd like to open it up for any public comments or questions from anybody. Okay. All right, so we'll have another public hearing on June 5th. So if I get some questions before that, otherwise I will try to do a quick version of tonight's version. So, all right, so the next public hearing would be on June 5th, 2023 at 6 p.m. That would be the second opportunity. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We don't have anything for that, just so you know.
Okay.
Public comment.
All right, moving right along, I don't have any public comments as noted here. We have presentations. And
Yes, we have several presentations tonight. We are, and it's like the high school show tonight. So we had a couple of student trips that happened this school year. So first on the agenda is our close-up trip. There's a student presentation, and Mr. D, is he? Yep. So they are coming on up to give us some highlights in their presentation of the trip.
just gonna talk, because I don't need this. If you guys are unaware, Close Up is a trip that every year sends kids to Washington DC in a group. And the really amazing thing about it is it's mostly on them. When they're there, they're doing their thing. They're meeting kids from all over the United States. And, you know, I get to kind of sit back and watch for the most part when I'm there and do my own learning adventure. But, so this year we had a great group of kids go. And I don't know if there's like a clicker or.
There's one underneath there.
So, there you go. Do you guys have anything you want to say as we go?
So, for learning new things, we just got to see a lot of different monuments, and they kind of taught us about how historically significant they were and how they still affected like today's politics and how all that runs. And then we got to go into group shops later that night and kind of take what we learned during that day and had our own like mock trials and different things just to really like see firsthand how that process works.
So, the nice thing about this group of pictures is all of these were things that we did on our own as a group instead of with Close Up as well. On the far left, you have us all touching the Washington Monument. In the middle, obviously, the Washington Monument that we took the picture together. And then on the first day when we got there, we go to Arlington Cemetery and see everything that there is to see there. Well, the fraction of what there is able to see there. And that is the changing of the guard for the unknown soldier. Here we have just different sites, World War II monument on the left, Arlington Cemetery once again, and then Capitol Building, Madison Library, and Supreme Court. All right, this is a good one for you guys to talk.
So we did get to meet a lot of new people. We were in workshops, is that what they called it? Yeah, we were in workshops and we had people from all different states, and it was really interesting to see the different views that people had from different states. So like from Florida, there were different views than we had here in Michigan, so that was interesting to see and debate about.
And some more pictures from our adventures in front of the White House, Supreme Court, Capitol Building, and the one I wasn't in is Lincoln Memorial. Anything else you guys want to say?
Apart from like what the main component was learning about politics and the history of kind of Washington, D.C. As someone who's going to college next year, this was really great in preparing me on how to live on my own and meet new people, which if I hadn't done this, I would be going in blind next year. So that was really nice, just kind of preparing me for that also. So.
And I'll say the one thing that I always love about the trip, although I've only got to go twice, I've been to DC a bunch of time with kids when I worked in Flint, and it's always amazing, you know, not that, you know, kids from Buchanan have a different side, but you always see the best side when you're going on a trip like this. They're always, like, we get tons of compliments from other schools, other teachers, people in the program. They're just an amazing group of kids, and it's a really great experience to see them go, get out of their element and learn something new.
Did you get to meet any of our representatives? Did they, sometimes they do that and sometimes they don't, but.
We got to meet Debbie Stavinow.
Oh, okay.
So we only got to meet her for a brief moment because she had somewhere to be. I can't remember.
They were holding a vote as we were like on the Capitol steps. We were waiting for her because she was behind, and there was like 25-mile-per-hour winds. The kids were dying waiting. And she showed up and she's like, pitch her, and then ran. So, but in my experience, that's how Debbie rolls.
Yeah.
Or I should say, Mrs. Stavinow. But she's when you get to go with, like, in the past, we had Fred Upton, and he was really great with the kids whenever we went. Like, he would talk to them, he'd give them a tour of the building. It was, so we have a new house member, and it didn't work out that way. But maybe in the future, once they get their feet wet in this district.
Yep.
But thank you for allowing us to go on this trip. It's an amazing opportunity for kids, and I look forward to doing it again.
Thank you.
I would like to say in 1982, actually in the fall of 1981, I went to a meeting in Kalamazoo, and there was something about a trip, and I thought, let's try this. So I applaud you for continuing a tradition that's been in effect now for over 4 decades, and hundreds of students. And do they still have a teacher program where you get to? And
like I
that's
went to
amazing.
Monticello this year, which was really awesome.
Oh, yes.
I learned a lot about Thomas Jefferson, some of which I wish I hadn't learned. But it was great.
Did they talk about Sally Hemings?
Yes, they talked about, there was a whole section called the slavery tour.
Yes.
In addition, like, they talk about Sally obviously a lot in the main house tour because she was really important. But they also had that whole additional tour just about slavery at Monticello, and literally my brain grew like 5 sizes. I wish the kids could have went. It was a really awesome experience.
Yeah.
What was the highlight for each of the students? What was the thing that was like, oh my gosh, I'm here?
Oh, I gotta think for a second.
I have to say mine was probably standing in the spot that Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech. That was kind of like, wow, for me.
Cool.
This actually wasn't even a monument, but another kid that we met there, I happened to be wearing a Redbud motocross shirt that day, and he recognized it, and he's actually coming to Redbud this year, so me and the group of kids are all meeting up, so I thought that was really cool.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead. Might as well just stay down there.
Down.
Okay.
No, you're fine.
Get up. Lift my little feet down. Ruth.
Okay. Got it. Thank you. Imagine the first time I got into these.
So we have 2 more times to go.
That's Michelle.
All right, how about the historic Black colleges and universities tour?
Yes, so we also have a group here that were able to participate in the Historical Colleges and Universities Tour, or HBCU Tour, as it is known. We have Mrs. Stephanie, I'm sorry, Stephanie Rodriguez, if you want to come on up. She was the lead adult or chaperone here from Buchanan, and then we also have Chase and Peyton, Chance and Peyton Tucker here, who have a presentation for us tonight. Okay.
So we went on historically Black colleges and universities tour last month, right? And it was like really, like it was really fun and life-changing. Like I want to go to college now after going on that tour. The first tour we went to was Fisk University. I wanted to like show some landmarks we went on. The bell on the left side, it was on Fisk campus. It was originally so they would ring it if the KKK was coming, so they could warn people like, hey, they're coming. Now they use it for like sport events if they are winning. The one in the middle is the Fisk Jubilee Singers. They introduced slave songs to the world. They're still around today, actually, and they're the reason Tennessee is known for music and not because of country music. And also, the image is one of the first images to like accurately depict African Americans. The statue on the right is a statue of W.E.B. Du Bois, who went to the Fisk from 1984 to 1988.
18.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Tennessee State University. It had a big, amazing campus with lots of different careers paths to start towards. The people here were very kind and very enthusiastic about their school. And I wanted to mention this September, TSU and Notre Dame will be the first time Notre Dame will play HBCU. Alabama A&M, this was my favorite school, and I don't even care about agriculture and mechanics. I just really like the people here and like what they were, like how they felt about their school. In the middle, that bell, they would actually hold slaves auctions under that bell. When they were done, they would wash them under a stream under it. And it was actually one of the first HBCUs to host a TED Talk. The theme was start here, go anywhere. The last college we went to was Drake State Community and Technical College. This wasn't an HBCU, but instead an HBCC, Historically Black Community College. It was a 2-year college, but the people here were like, even though it was 2 years, they were getting really high-paying jobs. Like the other schools, this school had like very determined and passionate people for their school. We went to the National Museum of African American Music. It went through all African American music from like when they were in slavery up till now. The exhibits were set up in a really fun and interactive way. Like there was beats you could do, you could go into a studio and sing. It was real fun. The Fraser Kid Foundation, I wanted to give a thanks to them because they were the ones who took us on this trip. Everyone there was super kind and like fun, and I would really like to go on to another one of these trips. Their motto was see more, be more. This is the foundation's motto because it says if you explore more of the world, the more information you get and the more intelligence you get. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you would have asked me 2 months ago what an HBCU was, I would have told you I had no idea. If you would have asked me 2 months ago what college I wanted to go to, I would have mumbled out, I just want to go to one around here. But if you would have asked me those questions today, I would tell you loud and proud about everything there is to know about an HBCU. If you would have asked me what college I want to go to, I would tell you the exact HBCU I want to go to, which is Fisk. And all of these colleges were amazing. With Fisk, which had a small town vibe like Buchanan, TSU, where you could study anything you really wanted, Alabama, which had a feeling overall positivity, and Drake University, which had machines there that could take us from the blue skies to the stars. The last place we visited was an African American museum, where we got to learn about how every single popular genre to date all derived from old African American music. And that's not even going on about all the experiences we got to go through. We got to go see a mall, what it's like to be in a mall in a big city. We got to play board games by up and coming African American board game creators, and overall, we just got to see experiences that I will hold for the rest of my life. The Fraser Kid Foundation likely changed my life forever, and I hope that I get to go to another tour with them. Thank you.
They pretty much summed it up really good. I'm a little teary-eyed. I'm Stephanie Rodriguez. I am a 1992 graduate of BHS. And when I was in high school, I started the Black Student Association. I noticed when I was in school that we came in strong numbers in with 8th and 9th grade, but when we graduated, the numbers diminished. I think I came in maybe with 10 to 15, and I think 4 graduated. None of the boys made it the year I graduated. Maybe one, I'm sorry, one made it, Donald McWhirter.
Yep.
But, so I started the BSA probably my sophomore, junior year, simply because I wanted us to have a support group to stay encouraged and to graduate from high school. And one of the things that I wanted to do was to do the college tours of HBCUs. Back then, Different World and The Cosby Show was real popular, and I just was like, I want to do that. I, unfortunately, was a teen parent, and it changed the dynamics, and I never got to go to a HBCU, nor, because it was such a starter program, was I able to incorporate that. However, the BSA continued even after I graduated from high school. It continued to be a support group in the schools. And Brian Frazier is a graduate of Buchanan High School. In his junior year, he went on an HBCU college tour, and it changed his life. He literally said when he stepped off the bus at Tennessee State University, like the sky opened up and he was like, what? And he knew that's where he was supposed to be. And he graduated, and he's now a videographer, and he's doing really well, and he's really giving back, which brought us to the opportunity that when I heard he was doing it to, do the give back, I jumped on it. I was like, Brian, I always wanted to do this. I need to get involved. And so he was like, sure. And so I teamed up with him to say, let me be a chaperone. Let me try to get as many Buchanan students. And because he graduated from Buchanan, he was like, yeah, whoever wants to go, they're in first. He opened it up. Now, when we say HBCU, please don't have the mind block of thinking it's just for black people. No, it is not. We are from a predominantly small town. However, I love the fact by going to like Tennessee State University, there was diversity. I've seen Asians, I've seen white, I've seen black, I've seen Mexican, everything. So it's not just that. If your child especially is into agriculture, go there, make agriculture the majority, their major, and then whatever they want to do as their secondary choice, because it's paid for. Drake State University, $6,900 a year. It's a trade school. That is a service that people are slacking on simply because it's service jobs, auto mechanics, electronics, robotics, nursing, you name it. It's $6,900 for your child to go a year. Under $20,000, they are coming out with a degree and getting paid top dollars for these services. Yeah, so please, I want to recommend to so many people, consider your child going to a historical black college. Buchanan is small, but it's not the reality of the world. And they're going to hit the diversity as they come into the world, and this is something that they should be exposed to. And it really teared me up to hear that this experience was life-changing for these kids, because that was the goal. With Brian's motto, see more, be more, it's the exposure of putting themselves out there to see more, to be more. You can't dream it if you can't envision it. So you can get a quality education going to these universities. We are very proud to say that Tennessee State University are coming to Notre Dame, first time playing Notre Dame University at HBCU, September 2nd. And so it's going to be a great experience. I say go. I'm not even a Notre Dame fan, but I'm going to that game because I just think it's so awesome. So this was such a great experience. Hopefully next year, our goal, the Fraser Kid Productions goal is to have 2 college tours, one in the fall, one in the spring. I encourage anyone that wants to go and to really get involved and be willing to go. This year, we were able to offer this tour with everything included for $250 for these students to go on this tour from the April 5th to April 7th. That was a steal. I can't say that's always going to be the price because they plan to go to different regions with each tour. So I can't say that's going to be the cost next year, but this year we did Tennessee and Alabama, and it was only $250. But we have a committee board that sponsored. We came up with almost $2,000 to pay for anybody from Buchanan that wanted to go. And these two boys were the only ones that decided to go from Buchanan, which I felt so heartbroken, like they're missing out on this opportunity. But I'm so glad they did it. I'm so glad it was life-changing, and I'm excited to do it again next year.
Thank you.
And just as
We're picture people.
Oh, is it up? Oh, okay.
Oh, now she's got to come up too. That's what she gets for offering.
There we go. All right.
Are we in?
Yeah, very good.
Yes. I can see you. Oh,
Doba.
all right, super cute.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was Brian.
Yeah.
As they're going back, I want to say, anytime our students can get out and about and learn new things is an education that will never be forgotten.
Yep.
And I just really appreciate this. This is the first time that we've ever had a presentation on HBCUs here at Buchanan, so I really appreciate that.
I saw the boy on your, Sean, on your page. And then just, it's just amazing. So, and obviously the passion of, and the opportunity, and thank you to the Fraser Foundation for offering that for our students, so. Very cool.
Thank you.
All right. Fisher Razor Group
Razor?
donation.
All right, so we have Brian Fisher here. He has a special presentation for us, if you want to come on up and to the podium. And you look great.
Told there'd be no public speaking.
Brief.
If you're in the Leo Club, can you come up here too, please?
Oh, look.
So I'm going to represent two groups, the Fisher Rayheiser Group and the Leo Club. I told Superintendent Robinson if the bond didn't pass, that I would be talking to her. The group I founded is in memory of my brother. His last name was Rayheiser, and we've donated $500,000 to small nonprofits. Probably 90% of that went to the Buchanan Scarecrows, though. Now, I can't keep doing that, so don't
Don't get excited.
But, I'd always see Superintendent Robinson out in the field, and, she just always had a really good personality, and I knew she was trying to do what was best for the community, even though I didn't grow up here. I grew up in South Bend. But she's got a great passion, and, I'm going to pat you on the back a little bit. So does Dr. Burnett. So I would like to donate $5,000 to the for security cameras, and the Leo Club is going to donate $1,000 as well. It's a start. You got a big mountain to climb, but I think this is going to be incremental. Hopefully not iceberg incremental. But let's just say it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
If you would have got me 3 years ago. But we'll keep our eye on things and try to keep the kids safe for the security cameras and things like that. I was really proud that the Leos were here, and 3 of the Leos that went to the up close, was it? Close up, are our presidents, and they do a wonderful job. So I know you want to take a picture, try to get the ball rolling. I think other people will come out because people love to have their face on Facebook anymore. And the only reason I will do that is to try to get this ball moving a little more. Thank you.
We appreciate your donation.
Thank you.
Very cool.
Are we going down, up, down?
I can come up there. You guys can come up.
These need letters.
Oh my God. Sneak attack.
Megan knows, she knows all the answers.
Ins and outs. You're gonna be in front of us. Oh, there you go, yeah.
No, I don't want to be in front. I want to get the picture.
Thank you so much, it was very cool. Yeah, very cool.
One more. Perfect. I got it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, thank you.
Again, thank you for that great donation. Yes, we have a mountain to climb, and we know our needs are still there. We know that the team that we worked with did an awesome effort, had an awesome effort of getting the information out there at our projects, and we cannot thank you, Brian, enough for seeing the defeat and answering the call and saying, "I'll help."
Yep.
Any way I can, I'll help. So we thank you for that, and we do hope that as we work towards meeting our needs, that others will come out and others will help us get to our goal. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Pruitt.
Good evening. I could just say, Peyton and Chance and Megan and Alyssa, they just showed you great things are going on here. So, but it was great to hear them come up and speak, and it's great to see how far just the 4 kids that were here tonight, how far they've come in their time here. I love seeing Peyton and Chance come up here and talk, knowing where we started in 8th grade to where we are now. So that's just awesome to see our kids grow. So I'm not going to take a ton of time. There's my presentation right there on the board. I'm not going to give us any fancy pictures. I just want to start by thanking, I want to thank Mrs. Robinson and the board for giving me the opportunity to lead the school this year. It's not where I expected to be. If I go back a year from now, it's not where, I thought I'd be, but, I'm really happy. I'm happy that I'm here, and I'm happy and I get to see where we go from here. And to be able to lead a building where I graduated from and where I grew up and where my kids now attend. So it's pretty exciting. So I want to thank you. And really, I'm just going to give kind of a year at a glance, kind of the things that have happened this year. It's been a kind of a crazy year, a lot of ups, really only a couple downs, but it's been a good year, and I just want to kind of share some highlights from it. So, we started on a real positive, I feel like a positive track. We had kind of, Mr. Fry and I hit the ground running with a lot of just positivity with our staff and our students. We adjusted some things right at the start of the year. So in the past, we started adjusting our grading policy to True North. And, I kind of had that opportunity, like we were making a big push, but there was also a lot of conversations we had with our teachers and a lot of feedback from our students and kind of seeing where, what our students had done with it. So we ended up taking a little pause this year. It's not that we got rid of the grading system at all. It's that being brand new as a leader, I did not feel comfortable just continuing jumping into things and seeing where we go. So we took a pause where our staff is still using that True North policy, but they're using it more in a combination of where we were in the process of going to that type of grading policy, also combined with where we were in the past. And I feel like our teachers have really liked being able to have that flexibility to use both systems to see where we're at. There are positives and negatives to both systems. One is that our kids, now that we've been kind of using that policy, even though True North has a lot of positives, our kids have kind of found workarounds and things, and I know it's frustrating for teachers and even parents at times. So we're just trying to find the right thing. So that's one thing we did right from the start. Kind of took a pause, and we're using a combo of things. Another thing we did this year, our science department wanted to readjust, and coming in, they sat us down, me, the counselors, Mr. Fry, to see if they could kind of readjust where we're taking our science department. So we realigned some things based on our staffing we have currently, credentials, number of teachers, where other districts are with where they run their programs. And so we kind of readjusted, and it's not a quick fix. It's a multi-year process. Every year, it's gonna take some time to get to where our end goal is for science, but we already met last week for, I think, Mr. Flowers, Mr. Ryan, myself, Mr. Fry, and our science department met for an hour and a half last Wednesday during Wacky Time, just kind of brainstorming how this year's gone with the process and where we want to go. So it's been great being open to talk with us and kind of share their ideas and make changes if we need to. Another huge positive is our student service department. We've been super lucky to finally be full staffed. It's been quite a while since we've been full staffed in student services. We have 2 full-time counselors, 2 amazing gentlemen, Mr. Flowers and Mr. Ryan, and having 2 people, it's just, after only having one for a year and a half, to see the impact they have on our kids and what we're able to do. I mean, the amount of days and hours that they can be in classrooms with kids now, not just in their offices dealing with things, but introducing kids to new programs and the opportunities they have, and working with Zello and working with their career stuff, and sharing the opportunities we have out, not just here in our building, in other places. They're even doing trails lessons, which is a mental health and wellness program. So our student service department just having 2 people has totally changed the touch they've been able to have on the kids and the impact. And then you throw in Mrs. Fiera, who's now been there a year and a half, and then you throw in Mrs. Olson, our college and career advisor, those 2 ladies alone, this year, for the first time ever, we've always had, people come down to our cafeteria for military, where they can meet with kids, or LMC or SMC or colleges. This year, they've reached out to businesses and trade schools and people in fields, and they brought them in. There were some times we'd have 2 or 3 days a week where we had a set time in the day where these people would come in and talk to people about their careers. And so we've given kids a lot of opportunities, a lot of face time with things they've never had before. And so that's been a positive there. Kind of from my end, where, from the learning piece, PLCs were a big thing we know in this district. And coming in, Mrs. DeMeo worked a lot with this guy named Matt Townsley, and our staff will tell you it was kind of hit and miss in the past working with this guy. I really like him, and I think this year it's gone very, very well. But maybe it was just the way things were done last year. It wasn't perfect. When I mentioned his name, I would say I don't know if staff was really super happy about that. So we kind of readjusted on the fly this year. And I met with Matt, and we created a small team. We don't call them PLCs at the high school. We call them BLTs, so Buchanan Learning Teams. It just sounds better because we like food, and we just like it better. So what we've done is we've taken a small group of our staff to create like a small BLT, who have met with myself, with them, and we've met with Matt Townsley, who works with Solution Tree. We've met with him once a month to help kind of build our PLCs. And what we do is then after we have our meetings and do all this, we go back to our staff as a whole, our entire BLT, and that's where we kind of go through what we learned and try to work, and we work with our staff. And I feel like that's had a much more positive impact doing it that way. And we've really had a focus this year. It hasn't been all over the place. We've really focused on kind of 2 things: formative assessments and feedback. So our goal is just to continue to broaden our toolbox with the way we're assessing kids, not tests and quizzes, but like just all the different ways we can do it, even just verbally talking, but adding these formative assessment tools to what we do in the classroom, but also the feedback we give. And we feel like tagging those 2 things together is just going to have a bigger impact on our kids and in our classrooms. So that was kind of our focus of our BLTs this year. But I just wanted to say that we were able to take something that kind of some words and some names that kind of turned our staff off and turned it into a positive this year. So I feel like that was a huge thing. Flood was in there somewhere. I'm not even going to go into that. You already know there. We've lost a lot of things and a lot of, we've got some great excuses if I can't find things. But we can't wait for a fresh start to someday be back in there. We've had lots of parent meetings this year. Mrs. Southwell, I know she was here last year speaking. She's continued to be an amazing interventionist, setting up parent meetings nonstop, especially at this time of year, getting our kids, hopefully, what they need, the help they need, the support they need, so that way they finish strong. We've had a lot of success with, we already talked about sports and all the different great seasons they've had. Our band with some great festivals and the ones they've received. Our choirs continuing to grow. The after-school program has just grown tremendously. We saw sports earlier. Our Science Olympiad team, which we talked about, went to state. We had a 12th place finish by two young ladies in this competition called the Write It or Do It, and that was the highest a Buchanan team has ever finished in state in the Science Olympiad. So we've had lots of positives there. Mrs. Robinson went to our first one of these early in the year, but Mrs. Robinson, myself, Mrs. Holock, and Mrs. Carlson were going to these meetings at Reese. I think there were 4 this year, and I cannot remember. I can't remember the name of the program we went to, what it was with Chris Martin. Why am I going blank? But the things we did with Chris Martin there at the start of the beginning of the year. But the last one we went to, we talked a ton about celebrations, and we talked about with COVID and things like that, we need to bring those things back. Yes, academics are the most important, but we've got to bring that fun and that celebrations back. And having teachers there with me and bring that back to our staff was big, because they're really about that and they want to bring those things back. And I just wanted to list some of the things we've done really just recently. Niles, Buchanan, and Brandywine High School, we teamed up to have this assembly on online safety, which I thought, the 3 districts worked together to bring this guy in. We did a great job with our students talking about online safety. We brought a teen driver safety interactive assembly in about a month ago, which our kids loved, very interactive, it was a lot of fun. Our SPED department took a bunch of our special ed students to a South Bend Cubs game and other students with them, something we haven't done in a long time. We know we do Powder Puff things in the fall, but just last week we had our first Powder Puff volleyball game during the day. So our kids were able to watch during an assembly schedule. They were able to watch our different grade levels, our boys take on each other in volleyball during the day, which was a lot of fun. We've had a ton of pep rallies. I feel bad. We had a pep rally schedule last week, one the week before. So when I told the staff, hey, with things going on, we had a decision day today. We've got a talent show tomorrow. Are you okay with these pep rallies? Everyone's, yes, just keep doing them. We're fine with pep rallies. They love it. So they just, when it's at the end of the day, it doesn't cause a ton of disturbance. So we've just trying to celebrate more. That decision day today, if you were in here, it was loud. Cool. All of our seniors were recognized with whatever choice they've made after high school. There was a raffle at the end. It was a lot of fun. And Miss Olson and Mr. Ryan and Mrs. Fiera and Mr. Flowers put in a ton of effort into that today. Tomorrow, Mr. Munions put in a ton of effort into a talent show. So we've got a crazy day tomorrow because it's our seniors' fun day where they're going to do graduation practice. We're going to have a senior brunch. We are going to do the parades at the different schools tomorrow. And then again, this is something we didn't plan, but Miss Olson and our student service department wants to throw them a senior cookout afterwards, because usually they can go home. So when they get back, they're going to do a senior cookout at the park, and then again, talent show at the end of the day. So we've just had a lot of fun things going on. Testing's over, so we can do that. But it's been a lot of fun. We've had, talking about testing, we normally do our M-STEP and our PSATs and our SATs and our NWEAs, but we also had quite a few seniors take the ASVAB this year. We didn't do it entire senior class wide, but we gave them the opportunity. So we had a ton of them take it, and we eventually want to continue to help make that grow. But we also had 17 students in the last 2 weeks take AP tests. So that was, hopefully those all come back good for them, but that was another great number for us. That's the highest number we've had of students taking AP tests. And then kind of to wrap things up, as we're counting down, we had an amazing senior trip to Chicago. This is the first time I've ever been able to go on the senior trip. Every year they ask me to go, and every year something happens. So I love that Mr. Fry was able to stay back so I could go on that senior trip. So I had a blast on that, and I can't wait to continue to go. Like I said, Tuesday, tomorrow is the big day for seniors. Thursday's their last day. Sunday is baccalaureate. Next Thursday night's honors convocation in here, and the next Friday night is graduation. And one thing we heard, which was pretty cool today, which we'll announce at honors convocation too, but Michael Rowland told us we had the highest number of seniors apply for scholarships this year through Gateway, so that's
Nice.
amazing. So that's a really good number, because honestly, in the past couple of years, if you applied, you're probably going to get it, because so few kids were applying for stuff. And this year we had our highest number ever, which was awesome. So to end, I just want to talk about some things that Mr. Fry, myself, and student services, and then along with teachers too, have been talking about, looking forward to for the future. You know, we're talking about, I mean, again, these are things that have to be approved by you guys. I'm just throwing them out there. You know, we're looking at like how our GPAs and things like that work with how we honor people, like how we honor seniors and chords. We're looking at more of leveling things and kind of distinguishing between different levels in that GPA, because it's a very broad number right now. So that's something we're going to look into. We want to go back to maybe adding honor roll as a recognition. We're going to look into adjusting our attendance policy a little bit more. I want to look into, I've had quite a few seniors ask about possibly can they pay to paint a parking spot, you know, in the parking lot. We're talking about how we want to do with the bond not passing and just keeping an eye on things and safety and security, what we want to do with cafeteria-wise, you know, campus-wise, open, closed lunches. The cafeteria is going to have a new look next year, which is going to be kind of fun. We're really thankful for Mrs. Kaltenbach for that, and then for our students who are going to be designing some murals. Scheduling is pretty much, you know, we're pretty much there where we need to be. Now we're meeting with all the different curriculum teams to talk about last-minute adjustments, and I have to get those numbers to Mrs. Robinson. And then, you know, we want to add some more student principal meetings next year, get that in the fold so we get them more involved. And lastly, just more parent involvement. I've had some parents reach out to me actually about, you know, how can they get more involved in high school, because they know the elementary and middle school get all the good stuff, you know, ways of maybe bringing PTOs or project graduations or things like that to the building. So
That's good.
hopefully there's a lot of more positive things to look forward to as we continue to move forward and grow. So I just want to thank you guys again for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. High school band.
All right, thank you. It is the high school show this evening, so come on up. High school band presentation. Trip.
Hi. I've set a personal goal of being the shortest presentation tonight. So I was very fortunate to already meet with the Curriculum and Programming Committee and give them all of the details on the trip we would like to propose for the band for next spring during spring break. I think the key points of this trip are the band really, really wants to go somewhere, because we have not gone anywhere since the before times, before COVID. So we would really like to go, and the top pick and what everybody's been bugging me about is when do we get to go back to Disney? So we're proposing a Disney and Universal trip. And this time around, we are proposing that we go to both Disney and Universal, because Disney has started limiting who gets to perform based on the number of people you can bring. We are very fortunate to be a small school. There are a lot of great things about being a small school, but it's really hard to get over that threshold that Disney wants for a trip. So we're proposing that we go to Universal, because they'll let us do a public performance with a smaller group, and then we still get the super cool recording studio experience at Disney. So the students will get to do a lot of really cool things down in Florida. They'll get to perform at Universal, as well as spend some time in the park. They will also get to do a real-life studio recording at Disney World. Well, they'll get to take some skills that we practice here in the band room and we use at our festival that we're assessed on, and get to see how those skills that they've spent so much time working on here will carry over into the professional world of being a recording musician and recording music from movies that they've seen, and they'll even set it to the scene from the movie. It's a very cool experience. And then, of course, the very important thing of showing them the world outside of Buchanan and giving them a chance to really bond with their friends and get to know their fellow band members and get to know their new band director next year. I can attest, as a new band director that took the band to New York after not knowing them at all my very first year here, there's no better way to get to know a new group of students in front of you than taking them out of state and being in very close quarters with them for several days in a row. You get to know them very quickly and very well. And those bonds and memories that they'll make, those will last for a lifetime. And it's one of the most important things that we do as part of Buchanan schools, and of course as part of Buchanan bands as well. A couple of just little I's and T's that have to be dotted and crossed, so on and so forth. We're hoping to take around 50 kids. It'll probably be a little bit less depending on our numbers for next year. And who decides they want to go on this trip. The goal for us is to fundraise enough so that every kid who wants to go can go. And we actually just got our payment plan from the tour company today, and it looks like a really good plan because it's small amounts every single month. So that way, the big amount will come at the end, but we'll have ample time between now and spring break to fundraise as much as possible. So that way, that big amount at the end goes down, 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 down. So hopefully they're not paying very much of anything at the very, very end. So that way, any kid that wants to go can go. Any chaperone that wants to go can go. And hopefully those payments are the absolute minimum amount possible. So big things. We go with the tour company we love them because they provide overnight security. So any chaperones that want to go are not on duty overnight. They can rest easy knowing that there's a paid security guard doing the rounds and making sure that everybody's where they're supposed to be at night, so that way our chaperones are sharp during the day and can keep up with all of the kids, because that is a task in and of itself. Because the kids have way more energy than I have. I can't speak for the other chaperones, but they have way more energy than I have most days. And they keep us on our toes. They keep us busy. But this is a really incredible opportunity. I wish I was going on this trip. I'm really excited. We've been working on it for way too long, and I've been sitting on it, and I hadn't said a word to the kids yet about it because I wanted approval first. But you're hearing it here first. Anybody that's here, Disney is the hope for next year. And thank you for your time, and I hope that you'll approve this trip for us. Anything?
No.
Thank you.
Covered all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was I the shortest one?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Plow day.
Yep, Plow Day. Jane is here to, come on up.
I'm helping Jane with the clicker.
Yeah,
That's
I told her, that was the only thing I said. Gotta have help.
You might want to pick different help. Just joking.
I think Phyllis wants something.
Phil's got something going on there.
Yes, it is.
Yep, there we go.
Oh, thank goodness, okay. You want me to do that part? Just show me which one. Just hit
the
this one?
arrows, yeah.
Okay. All right, I think most of you know, I'm Jane Mitchell. I'm the coordinator for the school farm. We had our 26th annual Old Fashioned Plow Days last month, and we did, we had a great day. First of all, it was a nice sunny day. We had wonderful volunteers that came and helped us set up. Our pancake breakfast, I have to say, Mr. Babcock went from making pancakes that looked like maybe octopuses, if that's a word, to perfect pancakes. But we had a good turnout. In fact, they were waiting outside the barn to get in, and we couldn't get them served quick enough. But it was a lot of fun. We ended up being able to plow this year, which we couldn't last year. Some of the other activities that we had, we always have the birdhouse with Ben Davidson, who allows the kids to use their creativity, and kind of added some things to that this year. We had some of our traditional groups. Of course, we had Megahertz there as well, with their drone, if you haven't seen that video. Other activities that we had Mr. Weldy, who was doing a carving with his chainsaws, which is a cool thing if anyone's never seen that. And just had a really fun day with all the different activities. The kids played with the like digging up things with the archaeologists and things like that. So it was a very successful day, a lot of fun. We brought back something we haven't had for a while, which is the pedal pole. And I want to say Morgan Hine won that this year and beat her sister. She had the blue ribbon, and her sister had the white ribbon. And she's the younger of the two. But we brought that back. That was a bbig thrill. We have a lot of different people that supported us. Of course, we want to thank all of those groups that supported us. Thanks to anyone that came out on that day and enjoyed the fun that we had. And again, we had the tractors out there. So if you have an opportunity to see Phil Place put together with his group a drone video, I don't know, probably that's out there, I'm not sure where, but it gave me goosebumps when I watched it because his drone is overhead and the tractors, you can see the green turn to brown as the tractors were going back and forth. And that just gave me, like I said, gave me goosebumps when I watched that. So again, thanks for all the support from the board, thanks for support from the community in keeping us doing what we've been doing for the last 26 years. There, I don't know why, I think I hit it going the wrong way. Oh well, it's the same thing over and over. I also want to, I put something up, if you haven't noticed. I put an invitation to all board members that they could attend this week, Tuesday through Thursday, and next Monday, we are planting our school farm garden. Last year it was pumpkins. This year it's pumpkins and, of course, some sunflowers and maybe some other gourds and things we're going to try out on the, see what kind of happens with the ground and see if they'll grow. But you're all invited to come help. I also put together, attached to your packet of seeds, I just put together a little informational guide to let you know some of the activities are on the left-hand side, but I think what's more important, or I feel that's more important maybe, is not so much the activities, which are very traditional. We haven't changed them. We've maybe made some modifications, but we still make the, still make the maple syrup the same way we've always made it. But I guess what I want to note there is these are estimates, but I just want to say that 1,479 individuals have visited the school farm this year. That includes parent volunteers, and as Mr. Pruitt said, he wants to increase that parent volunteer involvement, and I think that's something that we can start at a young age, which we do have a great group of parents and volunteers that help us with each one of our field trips. But hopefully, if we get that at a young age, we can continue to instill that through the middle school and high school years. So I'm tagging up with that guy. And then we also did, if you look a little bit further down, we also did a community outreach where we, I think I talked about this before, we had volunteers that collected the sap for us this year out at Life Action. We also had 2 field trips that we took to the Fernwood facility, had great parent involvement with those as well. And so if you look at the bottom line, because that's what I like to look at, 1,859, and that's an estimate number of community student interactions with some of our school farm programs that we do. So I'd like to see that number be over 2,000 next year, just so you know. Okay, thank you. Any questions? I take this back.
Good job, thank you. All right. Superintendent Department reports, anything to add? Ms. Robinson?
The only thing I want to add is, again, to stress a big thank you to everyone who worked on our bond over the past, I don't know, it's been a number of months that we worked on it. It was a lot of time, commitment, and effort put into that work. Our team that gives these reports, our district team, also had input, and they worked as well. And like I said earlier, the needs are still there. The kids will still come. The staff will be here, and we will do our best to service our kids like we've always done with the facilities we have. We know that we do need to do something. So, and I'll leave that there as our team works with trying to come up with some creative ideas on how to garner money. And it'll be people like Mr. Fisher and his group and his foundation that comes up and that steps up to help us. So thank you for all of your support during that time and that effort. So that's about it.
Very good. Information reports, news business, board policy committee. Anyone want to speak up? For that one?
I can do the recap on it, policy.
Yep.
Unless you wanted to, Jenny.
No, go
Okay. There was numerous policy updates. The majority of them were very simple wording updates to adjust Mr. Pruitt's title or position. So simple updates, but a lot of reading. So, and then there were some other ones, again, very small tweaks of the wording to match the
Descriptions, yeah.
suggestions. No major updates on any of the policies.
Very good. Any questions for the policy committee? All right.
What was the title update?
From his previous position to his current position.
Yeah, like it was a lot of descriptives and stuff that were updated, definitions.
Yep.
All right. Human Resources Committee?
I can go there too. Sorry, I had it pulled up and I lost it, so hang on just a second while I pull it up. Oh, perfect. All right. And this was Mrs. Ryder, myself, Kelly, Trish, and Carrie. We went over potential resignations. We had none that were official. We also went over new hires that were being planned, and most of them at this point are in the interviewing state, but it was really nice to see the pool of candidates that we have for the positions already, and it's great to have a jump on filling those positions before every school is looking for some of those positions, so that's wonderful. We talked about the open positions right now. There are second and third grade positions at Moccasin. Also, our Cisco CTE course, making sure that we have a teacher there. Talked about maintenance, and I know that there were interviews coming up for that. Substitute bus driver, custodian, kid care aide, 8th grade volleyball coach, a noon supervisor at Moccasin, and instructional coaches. We also talked about making positions appealing by looking at different opportunities for benefits, May being Mental Health Awareness Month. Carrie had some good information from a conference about potential benefits, offering our staff and employees some benefits around mental health. And then we talked about kind of a debrief of that conference that Carrie went to.
Any questions? Good job. All right. Facilities Planning Committee, anybody for that?
Is this me too?
Katie's been busy.
We did, and I'll be this was Chris Carlson, who's not here, Ruth, myself, Trish, and Mark, Carrie. It was overwhelming, and a little bit of, I'll say, it was coming off of the bond vote failing.
We didn't even have 24 hours to digest that.
Right,
reality.
right. I think that it is the reality of what needs to be done without the funds to do it is what's overwhelming. We looked at a list of the projects that need to be tackled, and we're working to determine, I would say, some kind of a process for making sure that we prioritize the funds that we do have appropriately, making sure that we get bids on some of those things now so that we can start that process to work toward the priorities, whether it be safety, security, the learning environment, making sure we establish those so that we're objective in our process. That's where we spent our meeting, and then we came to our board meeting. So we didn't have an opportunity to run long on that, which is okay because it was kind of a sullen meeting, yeah. Yeah.
We did prioritize how our sinking funds are going to be spent. So that was a lot of, where do we put the Band-Aids? Where are those Band-Aids needed the most to get us through?
Okay, very good. Any questions? All right. Superintendent and parent conversations.
So my final BUC conversation was held on May 10th. And that is an opportunity for it's open-ended. I go into a space in a building and anybody from the community can come and say, let's talk about A, B, C, or D. And so I open myself up to that type of conversation. There is no agenda. I do have information available. So that is the purpose of the meeting. At this one, it was, I had the principal come, so, which is there. But I do like keeping those in place because it is an opportunity for people to have access to me if they can't make an appointment for something or some reason that I am accessible, so.
All right. Questions? All right, curriculum and programming committee.
I can take that, unless Matt, would you like to take that?
No, after you.
As those of you who are still here realize, there are lots of meetings during any given month. On May 11th, we had our curriculum and program committee meeting, and that included Mrs. Robinson, Mr. Curlin, Dr. Carlin, and myself. We had a guest speaker for a little while, Mrs. Russell. We discussed instructional staff changes for next year, some new classes, some moving around of things at the middle school, at the high school. We discussed instructional coaches at both elementaries and then one for the middle school, high school combined, 6 through 12. We discovered that there were 3 teachers who applied for the Moccasin instructional coach and 1 for the secondary coach. And all these are teachers within our district, which will mean that we'll have some spaces to fill in the classroom. We also discussed behavioral interventionists. We spent some time talking about the band trip, so we got a good view of that, and I applaud, I really do. Anytime we can get our students outside of these walls is an education that is just phenomenal. They learn a lot about themselves, as Megan pointed out. We also discussed our math update for the elementary. They want to put a pause on for a year. And we talked about the secondary math changes and very detailed about what we're doing in math. The fact that ELA purchases and curriculum review, all materials are purchased at the high school and Moccasin, and Buchanan Middle School is completing a pilot program, 5 through 7. Last but not, we did talk about sex ed there too, didn't we? Seems like there was a lot of discussion about that this month. And then the last thing was about our AP classes and how we can maintain sustainability when we have small numbers and how we might address that. And there were lots of ideas that were put forward, so we're excited about those possibilities in the future.
All right. Questions? All right. Thank you very much for all of your hard work on the committees. Moving on to item L, public comment, and for our Buchanan Community Schools bylaws 0167.3, which governs public comment at board meetings. Each participant may speak once during the meeting for up to 3 minutes. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement, and not respond at this time. And I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response in a timely manner. And please ensure your public comment card includes, your contact information as desired for a response. And if you have specific questions for the board that may require a follow-up, please email those directly to the board president. And I don't have any comment cards.
Nope, none.
Okay. All right, moving on to item M, adoption of the consent agenda. May we have a motion, please?
I move the Board of Education approves the consent agenda for the regular board meeting of May 15th, 2023 be adopted as written. This includes the minutes from our April 17th regular meeting, the warrants, which include treasury and expenditure reports for April of 2023, employment departures. Kathy Paderowski, our interventionist at Ottawa, who will be finished at the end of the school year. Derek Dorton, operations utility staff, whose final day was May 4th. Charlie Murray, Buchanan High School Spanish teacher. And the teaching contract will end June 8th. Lindsay Hora, second grade teacher, who also will be done with her assignment at the end of the school year.
Support.
All right. Anything to add, Ms. Robinson?
Just thank you to those who are, I know there are a lot who are going to other spaces, so just thank them for their time here.
Very good. Any questions or comments from board members?
Just the same, those that are leaving.
Okay.
Thank you for your commitment to Buchanan.
All right, very good. Roll call.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Brackett?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to N1, Buchanan High School graduation certification. May I have a motion, please? I guess I can read it. Upon satisfactory completion of district requirements for high school graduation, the Board of Education hereby approves the graduates as listed on the attached roster to be certified for graduation and further authorizes the administration to prepare diplomas to be presented at the 2023 commencement ceremony.
Support.
Congratulations to those the class of 2023. So we're excited about the graduation next week. And I know they are excited about taking on their new path and new journey, so.
All right. Congratulate them. Anything else to add, board members?
Exciting times for those young people.
All right, roll call.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Brackett?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N2, BBA graduation certification. We have a motion.
I'll make the motion upon satisfactory completion of district requirements for high school graduation. The Board of Education hereby approves the Buchanan Virtual Academy students Brooke, I'm going to butcher names, so I'll apologize in advance.
Abrahamson.
Brooke Abrahamson, Destiny Brewster, Madison Carpenter, Maria Paragamboa.
Looks great.
Alejane Haynes, Rebecca Clan, Leela Quiggle, Savannah Scott, Kaylee Sheldon, and Jeffrey Thomas, as well as Buchanan Step-Up student Jenna Prather.
Support.
Very good. Ms. Robinson.
Congratulations to this list as well. They're graduating, and some of them will be participating in our ceremony next week.
All right. Anything else to add, board members?
Congratulations.
Congratulations. All right. Roll call.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Brackett?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N3, Girl Scouts proposed tree planting. May we have a motion, please?
I make a motion that the Buchanan Board of Education grants permission to the Girl Scouts to plant a tree at Moccasin Elementary School.
Support.
And Ms. Robinson?
And this group has met with Mr. Babcock, and I know Mr. Babcock will be communicating with Mr. Curlin about the whereabouts, and they'll connect it all, get that all coordinated, so.
Very good. Any questions?
Thank you
Yeah.
for thinking of us.
Yeah. Roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N4, Neola, first reading. May I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Do you want me to?
No, it's okay. The Buchanan Board of Education approved the first reading of the following Neola new and revised policies. And I read the whole list, right? Okay. Policy 1422, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. 1430, leaves of absence. 1615, use of tobacco by administrators. 1662, anti-harassment. Policy 2260, non-discrimination and access to equal education opportunity. 2260.01, Section 504, ADA prohibition against discrimination based on disability. 2340 is field trips. 2623, student assessment. 3122, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. 3215 is use of tobacco by professional staff. Policy 3362, anti-harassment. 3430 is leaves of absence. 4122, non-discrimination and equal employment opportunity. 4215, use of tobacco by support staff. 4362, anti-harassment. 4430, leaves of absence. 5512, use of tobacco by students. 5517, anti-harassment. 5610, emergency removal, suspension, and expulsion of students. 6325, procurement of federal grants or funds. 7434, use of tobacco on school premises. 7440, facility security. 7540.02 is web accessibility, consent, apps, and services. 7540.03 is student technology, acceptable use and safety. 7540.04, staff technology, acceptable use and safety. 7544 is use of social media. It's a new policy. 8300 is continuity of organizational operations plan. 8305 is information security. 8315, information management. 8390, animals on district property. 8400 is school safety information. 8510, wellness. Policy 9160 is public attendance at school events. And finally, policy 9700.01, advertising and commercial activities.
And I will support that.
All right, this is just the first reading, and then we'll do the second reading next board meeting, which will become official. All right, let's have roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N5, BRISA General Fund Operating Budget Resolution. May I have a motion?
I move the Buchanan Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas this board received the Berrien RISA General Funding Operating Budget following the Berrien RISA Board meeting of April 10, 2023, and whereas in accordance with Section 380.624 of the revised school board code, this board must now adopt a resolution expressing its support or disapproval of the proposed Berrien RISA General Fund operating budget and must submit to the Berrien RISA Board any specific objections and/or proposed changes that the board may have prior to the budget, prior to June 1st, 2023. Therefore, be it resolved that the Berrien RISA General Fund operating budget for 2023-2024 school year be supported, and the Secretary of the Board is hereby directed to submit a copy of this resolution to the Secretary of the Berrien RISA Board of Education, along with any specific objections or proposed changes to the budget.
Support.
Ms. Robinson?
This is a yearly adoption, and in your, included in the information was an overview of everything, so.
Okay. Any questions? All right, roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes, moving on to item N6, the RFP for a freezer replacement at Ottawa.
I'll make the motion that the Board of Education approves Food Service Supervisor Rebecca Kaltenbach recommendation to accept the bid from Pearson Construction Company for Ottawa Elementary School's freezer replacement project.
Support.
Yeah, Ms. Robinson.
So Becky does have funds in her budget, food service budget, to be able to do this, so we appreciate her and her work for getting this done and getting this out to bid, so.
Okay. Any questions? All right, roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N7, 2023 School Board Calendar Amendment. You have a motion?
I make a motion that the Buchanan Board of Education moves to amend the following board meeting date scheduled for December 18, 2023 is to be rescheduled to Monday, December 11, 2023 at 6 p.m.
Support.
All right. Anything to add to that amendment?
Just this was based on a scheduling kind of readvisement, I guess, or
Yep.
for me, so.
All right. All right, anything to ask about that? All right, roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N8, the BRISA biannual election. And I guess I can read that. All right, the Buchanan Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas the biannual election of the Board of the Berrien Regional Educational Services Agency will be held on Monday, June 5th, 2023, at the meeting of representatives from constituent school boards, whereas Section 380.614, subsection 2 of the revised school code requires a constituent school board to designate its representative and identify the immediate school board candidate the board supports for each position to be filled on the board by a resolution adopted no earlier than 21 days prior to the date of the election. And whereas Section 380.614, subsection 2 prescribes the method for passage of the resolution, including the requirement of considering the resolution at not less than one public meeting before adopting the resolution. And whereas the board previously considered the resolution at an open meeting conducted in a manner prescribed under the Open Meetings Act on May 9th, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that, one, the board designates Dr. Scott Carlin as its representative to serve on the 2023 electoral board responsible for electing members to the Berrien Regional Educational Service Agency Board of Education, and Jenny Brackett as alternate representative in the event the designated representative is unable to attend. And two, the board supports candidate John Prose for the position on the Berrien Regional Educational Services Agency Board of Education for a term of 6 years. Number three, the board supports candidate Jacqueline Van Horn for the position on the Berrien Regional Educational Services Agency Board of Education for a term of 6 years. Four, the board supports candidate David Pagel for a position on the Berrien Regional Educational Service Agency Board of Education for a term of 2 years. And number five, the board directs its representative, Dr. Scott Carlin, to vote for candidate John Prose and Jacqueline Van Horn, at least on the first ballot taking at the June 1st, 2023 election for the terms of 6 years. And number six, the board directs its representative, Dr. Scott Carlin, to vote for the candidate David Pagel, at least on the first ballot taken on the June 5th, 2023 election of the term of 2 years. And number 7, the board authorizes and directs its secretary to file this resolution with the Secretary of the Berrien Regional Educational Services Agency Board prior to June 5th, 2023.
Support.
All right, Ms. Robinson, anything to add to this?
This is done during the election year for Berrien Reese, so there's a little bit different than ours. So we, have this scripted process that we follow.
Okay. Any question from board members? I know that I think Van Horn and Pagel are incumbents. And John Prose, who used to be the former state senator for us and a representative, I think, at one time, is the new person.
And these were the only candidates. There wasn't additional for the seats.
All right.
Yep.
No other discussion? All right, roll call.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Brackett?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N9, setting the 2023-2024 budget public hearing date. May I have a motion?
I move the Buchanan Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas the Uniform Budget Act requires the 2023-2024 budget be adopted prior to July 1st, 2023, therefore be it resolved, the public hearing for the 2023-2024 budget will be held during the regular school board meeting on June 19th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the high school, Buchanan High School auditorium.
Support.
All right.
Who was that?
Anything else to add to?
Just for the community's sake, our finance team, Brian Brown, and we'll have our budget put together, so he will have the information there and presentation. So if they want to listen in, please do so at that time.
Okay. All right. All right. Any questions or comments? And just to reaffirm, the board has always done really well with maintaining budgets through the years and things, so really good work.
We've been good stewards.
All right, roll call.
Ms. Berry?
Yes.
Ms. Brackett?
Yes.
Ms. Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Ms. Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N10, the Berrien Career and Technical Education Consortium contract.
I think it's my turn. I make a motion that the Buchanan Board of Education adopts the following resolution. Whereas the school electors within the Berrien Regional Educational Services Agency District have voted on and failed to approve the questions of adopting the provisions of the school code which are designated to encourage the establishment and contracting for the operation of an area career technical education consortium, and whereas Section 690 subsection 3 of the School Code of 1976 authorized a combination of 2 or more contiguous constituent local districts to elect to establish an area career technical education consortium where the electors have failed to approve the ballot questions set forth in Section 681 subsection 3, and whereas said resolution cannot become effective until the same is approved by the intermediate school district and the area career technical education designation is granted by the State Board of Education. And whereas the Board of Education on May 15, 2023, received the approval of the Berrien Regional Education Service Agency to establish an Area Career Technical Education Consortium as authorized by Section 690 subsection 3 of the School Code of 1976. And whereas prior to this date, this school district caused to be published in a general circulation a notice of the district's intent to adopt this resolution, which publication was in a form and manner prescribed by the School Board of Education in accordance with Section 690 subsection 3 of the School Code of 1976. And whereas it is the desire of the Board of Education to continue to be a member of an area career technical education consortium for students of the contiguous local education agencies of Berrien County. Now therefore be it resolved that this board hereby declare its intention to remain a part of the Career Technical Education Consortium as authorized by Section 690, subsection 3 of the School Code of 1976, which program is to be operated for the contiguous local education agencies of Berrien County. And 2, the contract for the operation of the Area Career Technical Education Consortium attached hereto is hereby approved and is made part of the resolution. Number 3, the operation of this program shall continue with the 2023-2024 school year through the end of the 2043 school year. Number 4, in accordance with point 5 of the consortium contract, the Board of Education shall support CTE programming from its general fund as it does all other programs. Understanding the additional CTE state and federal funding is to assist with the increased costs associated with running CTE programming. Number 5, the President and Secretary of this Board of Education are hereby authorized and directed to execute the attached contract on behalf of the district and file a signed copy of this resolution together with a copy of the attached contract with the Berrien RESA and the State Board of Education. The State Board of Education is hereby requested to continue the designation of the Area Career Technical Education Consortium. And number 6, all resolutions and parts of resolutions insofar as they conflict with the provisions of this resolution be and the same are hereby rescinded.
Support.
Ms. Robinson.
Ryder.
Yes, this is our CTE consortium. We've been operating this for a while, and yeah, hope that is approved.
Any question or comments from board members?
Mm-mm.
No? All right. Roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N11, the 2024 band trip proposal. May we have a motion?
I move the Buchanan Board of Education approves a band trip to Universal Studios and Disney World in Florida from March 31st, 2024, returning April 5th, 2024, in accordance with Board Policy Number 2340, under the supervision of the new band director, Ann Jordan Lynch.
Support.
All right, and we had a presentation and everything. Any additional questions? All right, roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Moving on to item N12, donation approvals over $1,000.
I make a motion the Buchanan Board of Education approves the following donation to assist Buchanan Community Schools with the purchase of security cameras from the Fisher Riser Group for $5,000.
Support.
And we heard the presentation earlier on that as well, and thank you very much for that support. Very needed donation. Roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. Oh, man. Moving on to N13. We need to go into closed session for student discipline. May we have a motion?
I'll make the motion that the Buchanan Board of Education moves into closed session for hearing on student discipline, student number 886-182-3379.
Support.
All right.
At 8:21.
All right, and roll call.
Thanks.
Once you.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. We shall return live. All right, motion to move into open session.
I'll make the motion that the Buchanan Board of Education resolves to return to open session.
Support.
And that's 8:53. And roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
Dr. Burnett?
Yes. And moving on to item 15. The Board of Education adopts the following resolution, whereas the administration has presented to the Board of Education a recommendation concerning the long-term suspension of a student who is determined to be in violation of board policy, school board policies number 5500, 5512, and 5520 on Wednesday, May 10th, 2023. And whereas administration has notified the student and parents involved of the accusations against the student, the recommendation of long-term suspension, and their rights to a hearing on this date. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education chooses to suspend student number 8861823379 from in-person attendance in Buchanan Community Schools for the remainder of the 2022-2023 school year. Student number 8861823379 must successfully complete classwork via Google Classroom and email correspondence with his current instructors, and may return to in-person classes on August 28th, 2023.
Support.
All right, and roll call.
Miss Berry?
Yes.
Miss Brackett?
Yes.
Miss Lesh, yes. Dr. Carlin?
Yes.
Miss Ryder?
Yes.
And Dr. Burnett?
Yes. All right, moving on to question and comments from board members. Any?
Not on this specific, on anything, right? Or Pam? We already did the roll call. It's a long, it's a
Long meeting.
Monday. Yeah. I just wanted to speak as an individual for a minute regarding the bond. I think I wanted to thank the volunteers. I know that Trish was very involved, Donna Southwell, Lisa Gregory, Jessica Elliott, Jerry Flenner, and Carrie Franklin. There were a lot of teachers and administrators that volunteered their time at the informational sessions, and I know that there were 11 students, which I know were treated to a pizza lunch last Friday.
Oh, nice.
They volunteered time on their own. My daughter was one of them who, she said, I'm going to be at this, and I'm like, what? I wasn't planning to be at that one, so it made me want to do more. I'm obviously very disappointed that the outcome wasn't something different. I do appreciate people like Brian Fisher who have already stepped up to say, what can I do? It's very disheartening to sit here in the pride and the positivity that we hear, and then to know that the numbers were what they were at the polls. I think as a board, we have to take a very hard look at what's next. I personally am very much struggling with the concept of accepting that the results are what the results are, and that we're going to move forward with the budget that we have in place. And that list of projects is daunting, and we aren't going to compete for students or staff or teachers or anything if we sit and do nothing. So I think all of us taking some time to review what our commitment is. I don't think that we can be complacent in this, and making sure that we really dig deep to figure out and get creative on how we're gonna and what we're gonna do next. I don't know what that answer is, but it can't be one of us. It has to be all of us working towards it. So that's all.
Support that. 100%.
I would also like to thank those who made the effort to attend our informational meetings and to go on the tours and find out for themselves what the district needs. And I also want to thank those who did go to the polls to vote. I always taught that democracy was not a spectator sport, but you have to at least be involved to know how to vote. And there were far fewer who voted this time than the last time. And that's disheartening. We cannot have a good, strong democracy if people don't go to the polls and vote. So,
And there were a lot of good things that came out of it too, like having the city clerk who came in and did education on how to vote. So there was just I think the education that went along with what goes into something like this. There were definitely some wins along the way, but making sure that we figure out what the community wants, what we were elected to do, and make sure that we do better, I guess is all I can say, is we got to figure something out.
and at that facilities meeting, we kept thinking about all the things that have to happen. And we have all these priorities, and unless someone wins the big lottery, we're in a pickle. You know, we have to, and as you say, we have to compete with other schools because school of choice. We have to compete for our students, for our staff, for our leaders. The board has a lot of responsibility, and for 150 years, this school has been pretty resilient. And we've done a good job of protecting the buildings we have, but this building's 100 years old. You have moccasins 75. We all need repairs at 75. Take it from me, but yeah, I was very disappointed.
Anyone else?
I would like to say thanks to the entire staff for being resilient.
Yeah.
And the students really came out strong.
I think if I can end us on the positivity that I heard from Mr. Pruitt, I'm very excited for these students that are about to embark on the next chapter of their lives. There's some wonderful things. We're producing some wonderful students that are doing amazing things, and so congratulations to all of them, and we wish them the best of luck in whatever paths they're choosing.
Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.
It's not on.
All right.
Go Bucks.
And finally, just Katie said it all in a nutshell. And we'll continue to move forward and provide the best that we can, the best education, the best that we, with what we got. But we, like I said, we're not going to give up, and we'll come at this a different way, a different approach, but we still can move forward and come up with something. And with the last note, just to acknowledge again in this board meeting the passing of Lloyd Miller, who was a long-term board member, former board president, and treasurer, and so many other positions and things like that, who passed away a couple of weeks ago. Again, we thank him for his service, but also continue to keep him and his family in your prayers and things. With that said, our next board meeting is Monday, June 5th at 6, and we are adjourned.